All right, let's talk about something truly incredible. Have you ever seen a floor that just completely stops you in your tracks? I'm not talking about shiny marble. I'm talking about looking down and seeing a crystal clear river rushing over pebbles or a tropical shoreline lapping at your feet. Today, we are diving deep into the amazing world of 3D epoxy illusion floors. It's where art, serious engineering, and your home all collide. I mean, just pause and really think about that for a second. What if your floor wasn't just, the thing under your feet? What if it became the absolute centerpiece of the room, a destination in itself? It sounds like a total dream, right? Something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, here's the twist. This isn't just some fantasy concept. Making these absolutely breathtaking illusions a reality is way more practical than you'd imagine. This is not just about pretty pictures. It's about seriously robust, functional engineering that you can actually live with day in and day out.
So the big question is, how on earth do they do it? This is where the magic really happens. We're talking about this perfect blend of an artist's vision and tough, industrial-grade materials. The whole point is to transport you to another place the second you step into the room. And look, this isn't just some niche, experimental thing. We're seeing these floors in places that get a ton of foot traffic and have a reputation to uphold. Think about it. If a floor like this can survive in a busy luxury hotel lobby or a massive shopping mall, it pretty much proves they can handle some serious, real-world wear and tear. And that, of course, brings us to the biggest question everyone asks. Okay, it's beautiful, but is it strong? It's a totally fair point. The last thing you want is to install a work of art just to watch it get scuffed and ruined. So let's talk about the foundation of their durability. Get this. A professionally installed epoxy floor can easily last 15 to 20 years, sometimes even longer. And that amazing durability, it comes from its industrial roots. We're talking about the same kind of material that protects a factory floor from heavy machinery or an aircraft hangar from jet fuel. So, for your living room, yeah, it's more than tough enough. And here is where it has a huge advantage over something we're all familiar with, a traditional tiled floor. Unlike tile, an epoxy floor is one single, seamless surface. That means zero grout lines to scrub and absolutely nowhere for dirt, grime, or bacteria to hide. It's also 100% waterproof, so spills just pool on the surface, which makes it incredibly hygienic and super easy to clean. Okay, so you're sold on the idea. It's gorgeous, it's tough, but how do you make sure your dream floor doesn't turn into a total nightmare? Well, it all comes down to a non-negotiable checklist for the installation. Get this part right, and you're golden. You see, there are really three pillars to a perfect, long-lasting illusion floor. Number one, absolutely critical surface preparation. Number two, using the right professional-grade materials. And number three, building in essential safety features from the get-go. Let's break down what each of those really means. So the number one enemy, the absolute killer of an epoxy floor, is a problem called delamination. That's a fancy word for when the coating literally just peels up from the concrete or tile underneath. Think of it like trying to put a sticker on a dusty or oily surface. It's just not going to stick, right? That's why the pros mechanically grind the subfloor, even hard marble, to create a clean, porous surface that the epoxy can grab onto and never let go. Skipping this step is just a recipe for disaster.
And the materials themselves are just as important. Professionals use a very specific cocktail of ingredients. You have to have a UV-stable epoxy. Otherwise, that beautiful blue ocean on your floor could slowly turn a nasty amber color from sunlight. Then, they add a special polyurethane topcoat, which is what gives it that serious scratch resistance. And finally, they mix in these microscopic non-slip additives. This is what gives you grip, especially when the floor is wet, but you can't even feel it under your feet. It's pretty brilliant.
This chart really sums it all up, doesn't it? For every single potential problem, there is a specific professional-grade solution. You're worried about peeling? The fix is aggressive surface prep like diamond grinding. Worried about yellowing? The answer is using those high-quality, UV-stable materials. And slipperiness? Solved with those invisible non-slip additives. It really just goes to show why having an expert do the installation is so important. Okay, so fast forward. The floor is in, it looks absolutely spectacular, and it was installed the right way. But what's it actually like to live with? Let's get into the day-to-day.
Here's the best part. Even though it looks like this incredibly high-maintenance piece of art, these floors are surprisingly easy to take care of. Remember, the surface is totally non-porous and seamless, so dirt and dust have nowhere to hide. Just simple sweeping and mopping with a gentle cleaner is pretty much all you'll ever need. Just, stay away from harsh, abrasive stuff and you're good to go.
Now, these floors are incredibly resistant to impacts and scratches. But let's just say the unthinkable happens. You drop something really heavy and sharp and it leaves a mark. Is it ruined forever? Nope. Repairs are actually possible. A pro can come in, sand the damaged spot, and refill it. The only real challenge is getting a perfect artistic match on a complex design, but honestly, its durability makes this a very, very rare problem. And this brings us to one last, really important thought. When you decide to install one of these floors, you're not just picking out a floor color, you're basically commissioning a permanent work of art for your home. And that comes with a certain level of commitment. The key thing to remember here is that this is a semi-permanent installation. Because it's bonded so incredibly strongly to the subfloor, which is exactly what you want for durability, getting rid of it means mechanically grinding the whole thing off. It is a big, labor-intensive job, so you want to be really sure that the design you pick is something you're going to love for a long, long time. And of course, that brings up the big question of resale value. Here's a little practical advice on that. A beautiful, more general theme, like a calming ocean or a flowing river, can add a really unique, luxurious feel that might actually increase a property's value. But a highly personal design, let's say a giant mural of your dog, that might be a little too taste-specific for the next buyer. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind. So, at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway from all of this? I think it's that these spectacular floors represent this perfect harmony between art and engineering. When it's done right by a professional, you don't have to choose. You don't have to pick between a breathtaking design and a floor that can stand up to the rigors of real life. You really can have both. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. After seeing everything that's possible, you really have to ask yourself, is a floor just a surface to walk on, or could it be a canvas for a masterpiece? The answer, it seems, is waiting right there at your feet.